Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. The topic this time is how to survive your trust account audit. This webinar is hosted by the ABA Legal Technology Resource Center, and speaking today will be Erica Bursler of Cosmolex. The Legal Technology Resource Center is an ABA member benefit provided by the ABA Law Practice Division. The LTRC has been providing lawyers with legal technology guidance for more than 25 years. You can find a variety of legal technology articles, guides, videos, and other resources on our website at lawtechnology.org or our blog, lawtechnologytoday.org. Erica Bursler is the product specialist and manager of customer support at Cosmolex, developers of a cloud-based legal billing and trust accounting system specifically designed for solo and small law firms. Erica has a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and 4 years of experience in the legal software industry, catering to the specialized technology needs of small to mid-sized law firms. Erica has given numerous presentations on legal technologies such as law practice technology management, cloud computing, and legal billing and trust accounting compliance. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll now begin the webinar.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. I'm very excited to present this webinar on how to survive your trust account audit. We have a very exciting presentation lined up for you today, and one that you will find extremely useful because, as the title implies, we're talking about survival skills. As you may well know, passing a trust account audit is about your survival as a licensed attorney at law and about the survival of your firm as a successful law practice. So let's first cover why is proper trust or IOLTA accounting important. First, let's touch upon client funds. As a general rule, client trust accounts hold client funds or property, but the attorney is the fiduciary on those funds. Next is state-specific requirements. There is no one set of rules that can be used by all attorneys. Each state or even enforcement division has its own set of guidelines. However, there are several guiding principles which you should be aware of, which we will cover today. Also, there are consequences of noncompliance. I think we all understand what happens if you do not pass a trust audit account. A trust account audit. The consequences can be quite severe. On top of that, many jurisdictions have a random audit program, which means that all of your trust accounts must be audit ready on any given day. So, how does trust accounting relate with practice management systems? Well, like any business, it's very important to have a solid foundation. By having an effective practice management system in place, you're able to worry less about everyday business and more about these high-risk issues. You can't do it all by yourself or sometimes even with a team. The days of having a pool of paralegals and admins are long gone, and there are just too many details to keep track of. The pace of law and business has been moving much quicker these days. So let's go ahead and first cover the basics. What is needed to run any successful law practice? And then we'll demonstrate how this will play an important role in managing your trust accounting. Here are just a few of the ways in which you can benefit from working with a modern law practice management system. So let's go ahead and take a look at each one of these. First is mobility. With a cloud-based application as the new normal, today's law practice management systems allow lawyers that are on the go to keep their cases current and uploaded by logging in during odd moments in the day from, say, a client's office or even from home at night. So let's go ahead and just give you an idea of how easy it is to log into a cloud-based system. All you need is your website typed into your web browser. And right here, I'm going to be logging into the Cosmolex application. Okay, so let me just, I think it might be our internet connection. So just give me one moment. I'm going to have this load. And we're going to go ahead and touch upon our next item here. Okay. We're going to be talking also about your second benefit, which is cost savings and fewer headaches. When you look at the sheer amount of work and responsibility that your law practice management software handles for roughly $1 a day, the cost savings is enormous. Plus, a law practice management system does not get confused overwhelmed, or procrastinate like most of us tend to do. It just gets the job done whenever you need it done. You also gain from operational productivity and minimal IT expenses, as well as freedom from IT maintenance and data backup headaches. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about benefit number 3. We're talking about improved client services. Now, law practice management packages offer a rich menu of built-in and custom reports. When clients have a question about their account or the status of a particular matter, the answer is just seconds away, with all the documentation that you need to keep them happy. Also, each event or task is tied to the matter records. You can find everything in one spot. No more locating missing entries. Having matter-centric records are also a big compliance help in case you need to produce records from a matter from many months ago or years ago, which is likely the case with an audit. So let me get back to our login page here, and I'm just going to log into the program. Okay, and with a web-based application, you're able to access it from anywhere at any time, which includes it from not only your PC, but also from tablets and smartphones. So let's go ahead and demonstrate the improved client services that I was discussing. So if I go ahead on this first page, if I go to the calendaring, let's say for example, and I go ahead and look at all of my events that I may have coming up. Each event can be tied to the matter records in a fully mobile way. So you notice that I have a little file folder here. That means it's linked to a matter. So not only do I know on this page, but also if I were to go to that specific matter, let me go ahead and type in the client. I also have a singular matter record for this matter, which has not only all the information pertaining to time expense cards, but also your calendar and your task events all in one spot, so that there's no more looking around for these missing items. As I'm setting up these types of items, let's say my tasks, this is where you have the ability to link it to a particular matter. So I can just select the matter from who I have currently in my list, and just like that, it will show up in that individual matter record. Let's go to our next benefit, number 4, which is improved collaboration. No single task or meeting will successfully conclude a legal matter. It's about managing a sequence of events that interlock with each other to reach the final outcome. A robust and full-featured practice management system will automatically coordinate meeting and task management, time tracking and billing, docket control, and yes, even trust accounting. So this was presented to you in the previous example when I showed you the matter record, but also your collaboration with your team is right here in your calendar section. So I can see my events that are going on, but I can also select at the bottom left the other members of my team. I can then see their events that are happening, and I can collaborate our schedule. Also for task items. Here, when I set up a task, I am able to assign it to another user if needed. All right, let's go ahead and move on to benefit number 5, which is better billing. Automated batch billing via email has been a big win for law firms with the new generation of practice management tools. As it says here, time is money. So not only do invoices get out on time, they're more complete, free of errors, and professional looking. So in the better billing category, there are 4 major benefits that I'll cover. One is timely entry. You have access to time and expense entries in many areas of this particular program. So if I go within Cosmolex, if I go to the main matter page, which is where you spend majority of your time, right here I have direct activity buttons to time and expense entries. You're also able to access these from your mobile app if necessary. Capturing all completed events. As I showed you in the calendar section, you're able to get a top-level glance of all of your activities. And right away, you can see if something is marked as billable or if it has already been billed. I have my green $sign here, which means the item is billable, and I have a gray $sign here to mark that has already been billed. Next is quick billing. After all, we're here to save some time. So if I go here to the invoices section, here you're able to not only generate invoices in bulk, but you can also email to multiple clients at once. Here I can select either all or certain invoices that I wish to send out. Click email, and here you can actually customize your template to send a message out to all of your clients at once with their invoice attached. Talk about a time saver. And lastly is uncluttered invoices for your clients. Any program should give you the freedom for you to customize your invoices, whether it's to add a logo or to make other changes. And here we have a very easy area in our setup section where you can access all of the invoice templates. No need to have somebody do it for you. You can actually come in here and do it yourself. Edit your template, take a look, and make any changes here you may need, including uploading a logo if needed. Okay. Let's go ahead and head back to benefit number 6, improved cash flow. You may not equate better practice management with better cash flow, but after all, this is the ultimate end game. Law practice management software is all about increasing personal productivity, tracking more billable hours, producing clean, clear invoices, and collection stimulants that get you paid more quickly. So again, to tap into this efficiency, when you send out your invoices and then you're waiting to receive your payment, those overdue invoices, typically you have to sort through some files, see who's overdue, by what amount, and that is quite a time-consuming activity. So here, we offer the option of sending out email reminders. The program will actually generate a list of all of the invoices that are currently overdue. You can use this list to help you in your collection efforts by just knowing the overdue balance and the due date, or you can use our built-in reminder function by, again, sending out an email in bulk to all of these clients. In this case, it will be reminding them that they have an overdue balance and will attach the overdue invoice. Now, let's say you mostly do retainers. In that case, perhaps you don't have to do too much collections. But what about when those retainers are depleting? You want to be sure to keep a close eye on those. So if I go over here to the matter section, each matter, when you set it up, allows you to set a minimum retainer requirement. So that way, if I go here to the low retainer reminders, it will list all of the clients that have fallen below this minimum requirement that you have set for these particular clients. So if I go ahead and select them all, click email, again you have a different notification with very different language, letting them know that per your agreement, they need to replenish their retainer amount. This way, you never have the risk of your retainers depleting to zero and having to really seek out extra funds. All right, so let's go ahead to our next item. Trust accounting. Now, clearly, law practice management systems provide great benefits, but I'm sure you're all likely asking right now, where was the trust accounting in this list? Trust funds management is an integral part of most law firms, but trust accounting is not part of most practice management systems. This creates challenges for many small law firms who, by necessity, end up maintaining an entirely separate system just for their trust accounts. For most firms, billing and trust accounting activities are interdependent, almost like the wheels of a bicycle. The redundant effort on keeping these set of duplicate books leads to more errors from duplicate data entry and wastes hours every month in never-ending difficulties trying to keep all of your separate systems reconciled. Let's take a look at some of these typical problems. Okay, our first consequence is dealing with the commingling of client advances. Keeping your trust funds separate from billing records leads to the most common problem, commingling. Now you may be thinking keeping them separate should reduce that risk, but it's actually the exact opposite. With having them separate, one client funds can get commingled with another client, or even worse, with the firm's own operating funds. Your firm simply needs a bulletproof, zero-tolerance control for this error. It's the #1 cause of malpractice claims. So let me go ahead and give you an idea of what I mean by avoiding commingling. On the main page of this application, we have a list of our matters. Notice that each matter has its own designated line, and all balances are listed separately. So at any point in time, you are able to know the exact status of any matter. Also, the actions on the right. If I wanted to go ahead and complete any transaction here, I have to first select the matter. So I have to make a conscious decision as to who I'm doing this activity for. So let's go ahead and receive a trust retainer. So let me select this client down here who currently has no funds in trust. If I go ahead and receive a trust retainer, now let me just do it right here. If I go ahead to the Transactions tab, and I'm going to go ahead and receive a retainer for trust. Okay, so right here, you have access to your trust retainer and also your operating retainer if needed. Right away, you will see an update in the matters retainer and no changes in any one of your matters. Also, of course, your overall trust balance will update. Let's go to our next item, which is trust funds, draws, and overdrafts. Trust retainers often go to an isolated trust ledger and are then drawn upon as needed for fees and expenses. Keeping track of these balances and drawing of funds is a manual task when you maintain separate systems. The risk, being overdrafts, again creates a huge point of pain. So let's go ahead and take a look at the receiving of payments on invoices. So if I go ahead and select one of my matters that has an unpaid balance, and I'm going to go into the details of this matter. For my invoices, I have 3 ways to receive payment, one of which is new funds from client. That means they just sent in a payment for this invoice. And you can also debit from your current retainers. So let's go ahead and debit from a trust retainer as I have one available for this particular matter. Okay, so now let's just think for a second as to what all needs to happen when you draw funds from a trust account. First, trust money needs to move to the business account. Also, your trust balance and client ledger needs to be updated accordingly. And lastly, the invoice must be marked as paid. Here, I'm able to take care of all of these steps in just one. So let me go ahead and pay off this invoice. So I'm going to debit $364.50 from my trust, and I'm going to put that in the form of a check. It will deposit into the operating, and it's going to pay off this invoice. Once I receive that payment, you will see that my invoice has now moved to paid, and my retainer amounts have been adjusted. So just think, all of that activity, would you like to do it manually each time you draw funds? Most likely not. So let's go ahead to our next consequence, which is IOLTA compliance. A vast majority of disciplinary cases, over 95%, are related to poor record keeping and compliance practices that are not deliberate misappropriation. The good news is this means that most are preventable. Trust accounting has special rules that are different from business accounts. Issues like ledger card overdraft, duplicate check numbers, and individual ledger balances are unique to trust accounting, as is three-way bank reconciliation. You need a specialized product which is designed for legal requirements and understands IOLTA regulations. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these items, which is ledger card overdraft. With the ledger card overdraft, you also can prevent other errors, such as duplicate check numbers. Also, each item, deposit or disbursement, is identified by its matter. Accidental edits of books once the month accidental edits of books once the month is reconciled, and losing track of uncleared funds. Cosmolex has ways of preventing each one of these issues in order for you to keep IOLTA compliance. Next is lack of control. Having separate systems, logins, double data entries, constantly updating balances back and forth, not providing a single view in client statements, where do you go to get one view that is 100% accurate? By any definition, this is out of control trust account management. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few items which help you to gain control. One of which is an audit log. In this section, we have a Recent Activities tab, which lists everything that has occurred within this program, along with the user who did so, and a time and date stamp. Say you deleted something by accident, not sure what it was, you can come here and take a look. Maybe something happened with a particular matter. You have no idea who did it or when it happened. This is where you would find that information, and this is a non-editable area of the application. Also is user-level access controls. If you want, only authorize certain users from viewing or working on trust accounting. Here, you have full control of your users and their permissions. You can designate who can and cannot access or do certain activities. And lastly, everything's kept together. Your data is always kept together with the rest of your practice management items, calendar items, tasks, time cards, expense cards, invoices, all in one place. No need for you to copy from one machine to another or to use flash drives. Now, the only thing worse than separate trust books is, of course, manual books. Tracking client funds manually or with loose individual spreadsheets is not only slow, but it is very prone to errors. Calculation errors are very common, yet hard to find and even harder to fix. You waste hours with every reconciliation, tracking down something as small as a 5-cent discrepancy. And when you do finally find all the mistakes, recreating all these records takes a lot of time as well. The same, of course, can be said for writing checks or deposit slips, doing them individually and, of course, by hand. So let's cover what makes trust accounting so unique. First, you must track funds for each matter. You must also reconcile your books monthly. And lastly, you must maintain an audit trail. These are the absolute musts of trust accounting. Now, let's go ahead and cover a few simple survival rules, which we call the ABCs of trust accounting survival. First is always be current. As we've seen, this is essential and really only possible when you have modern law practice management software at your side. Next is always be compliant. Specialized software, again, can do the heavy lifting, but part of compliance is how the trust account function integrates with your overall bookkeeping. And lastly, always be audit ready. Being audit ready means being able to give the auditors what they want and quickly. So here is a list of the 7 essential reports that you must be able to produce to survive an audit. A properly designed law practice management system should be able to give you each one of these in a single click. And also remember, in most cases, these reports must be retained for 7 years. That includes keeping track of physical copies of actual transaction records, such as deposit slips, canceled checks, and even paper statements. So let me just give you a peek at the report section that we have here. All of the reports that I mentioned in that list are available to you in this report section here. Most importantly of which is, of course, your reconciliation report and your 3-way reconciliation report, which I'll show in a little more detail. And I actually went ahead and generated a copy of each of these reports that I listed from the CosmLex system. So let's go ahead and quickly go through each one of these reports and their benefits. First is your bank ledger. This is a comprehensive money in and money out sheet. It must show every transaction, even the voided ones, listed with date, payee payor, dollar amount, purpose, and client ID. The bank ledger also needs to be kept current, showing a running balance after each transaction. Next is your cash receipts journal, as well as your disbursement journal. These need to be reconciled perfectly every single month on an ongoing basis. Your client ledger balance. This is a very critical report. This report provides balance for each of your clients in your books. However, remember some checks may be in transit and have not hit the bank yet. Till funds are cleared from the bank, you are still in possession and responsible. And you'll see right here, it designates what is cleared and uncleared, and those are the amounts that you need to keep an eye on. Your individual client trust ledger. This is simply a mini bank statement that shows your balances of each of your individual trust clients. This is the best way to be aware of all activity that has taken place with a particular ledger. Now let's talk about bank reconciliations. This is the most important part of trust account management and is often the only place where you'll be able to spot errors. Here's a tip. Throughout the month, close your entries while you're conducting the reconciliation. This will avoid accidental edits. Here again, you need to keep either a paper copy on file for every reconciliation report or use a program that allows you to print past reports. Just a warning though, some accounting systems only allow you to print the current reconciliation report. So here's a glance at a reconciliation report, and this just gives you your bank and book balances, as well as a listing of your cleared and uncleared transactions, which, as we mentioned, is what you need to keep track of from month to month. And lastly, and most importantly, is your 3-way reconciliation report. This is a unique requirement for trust accounts, and this report is required for IOLTA compliance. It connects the bank balance, book balance, and individual ledger card balances, while accounting for your checks or deposits which have not yet cleared. So the 3-way reconciliation and the reconciliation report are definitely 2 items that you want to have on hand for every single month. If you were to get audited, that is something that they would look for along with those 5 other reports. So with that, I hope this presentation has given you a better appreciation of how state-of-the-art practice management is much more than an exercise in efficiency. It's all about increasing revenues, accelerating cash flow, eliminating compliance worries, as well as protecting your practice from chaos and confusion at each monthly close. And at the end of the day, it's also about giving you the survival skills to stay squeaky clean on a daily basis, and to be confident in your ability to pass any trust account audit with flying colors. Well-designed systems now bring all of these benefits with the reach and budget of any size law firm.